Hey guys, good morning. It's Jaren back with another crafting video today. And today's video is going to be pretty interesting. We all know that recently, this past Tuesday, there was an update and new gear was released. The 710 craftable gear. And I've seen a lot of videos online about the required stats and all of this just information online that seemed a little bit exorbitant to me. All of these overmelds and different things you needed to do in order to make this 710 gear, and people have been spending millions and millions of gil buying materia to try to overmeld their gear just to make this stuff. And I wanted to show you guys an alternate way to make this gear. This is pretty interesting. We're not going to use any overmelds. We're not going to overmeld our gear at all. Well, let me just put one disclaimer in there. I do have one overmeld, and I'll show you that in a moment. But we're not going to use any overmelds, and in fact, we're not going to use any grade 11 or 12 materia at all. This is all going to be grade 10 and below, and we're only going to meld the guaranteed slots of the gear with grade 10 materia and below. So when we're done using this set, when the green set comes out in a few months, you can take the materia off and save it for future use. So this is actually pretty interesting. Let me show you my set here real quick. And this is my new glam. I got my fancy gold shirt on. I hope you guys like it. So if you look at my stats currently, my CP is at 615, my craftsmanship is at 4628, and my control is at 4365. And we're going to go through the melds real quick. I'm on my culinarian right now. This is not a specialist job because I'm going to make food and tea here in a minute, and I'll show you how to do that. I have a quick macro how to do that. And you can see here that I only melded CP on the tool because it's only got one guaranteed slot. And CP is really the most important stat that we could have. The more CP we have, the more actions we could use, which will help our rotation and help us to be able to make what we're trying to make. So I put a CP plus 8 on my tool here, and that's a grade 9 materia. And we'll scroll down through the melds, and it's all CP and control. I didn't need to meld any craftsmanship, and I'll show you why here in a minute. So on the headpiece we have a couple of controls. Now on the body piece, you can see I overmelded. I remember I referenced we used one overmeld. For the rotation, for the 35 durability mats, the ingots and the leathers and stuff like that, I was coming up one CP short for my rotation. I mean, one CP. So I was like, well, okay. So I took a few of the very low level CP materia that I had in stock, and I'm sure these you can come across these very, very easily. I just threw a +2 on the body because I needed one CP. I was one CP short, so this was the only overmeld I had to do. I think we can all afford to put one CP on our gear. That's not going to break the bank for any of us. So the body piece does have one extra CP on it, as you can see there. Well, this is actually a +2, but that's what I had in inventory. So I needed one CP. I just threw a +2 on there, and we're good to go. The hands again are a couple of control grade 10s. The legs, I used a grade 10 control and CP. And the feet, another grade 10 control and CP. Now the accessories we know have one guaranteed slot, and I'll reiterate how I think CP is probably the most important stat that we could have. And the more CP we have, the more actions we could use. So I just threw CP on the accessories, whatever would fit. You can see the rings. I threw a couple of grade 10s on there, even though it can only hold 7 CP. That's fine, because it's grade 10. I could take it off whenever I need it with a 100% success rate. No problem. Threw another grade 10 on the bracelet, on the necklace, and the earring. And the offhand tool, again, another CP plus 8. So the stats that I have now without food are not good enough to make the new gear. If we go into the menu, and we'll go into the master recipes here, you'll see down here at the bottom of the list here, and under the characteristics, it says craftsmanship required 4740 and control required 4400. Yeah, it's not good enough, which is why we're going to use a specific food that's going to boost both of those stats up into the required, into the minimum requirements. And the food we're going to be using is, let's see here, the salmon jerky. It's a very simple recipe. I'll show you the macro here to make the salmon jerky real quick. And these salmon, if you're looking to find these salmon, if you want to fish for them, I'll show you on the map real quick. If we go here to Shaolani, up here, there's a little stream here that connects this the outside of the map to the lake here in this stream. This is where you catch the salmon. It's a powerful hook set. You don't have to use your hook sets. You can just catch them normally. But it's a 2 exclamation mark fish, and the versatile lure is just fine. Just go out there, relax a little bit, and you'll catch some salmon. And you can identical cast and triple hook them for 3 additional salmon on top of that. So you'll get plenty of salmon in no time. Real simple to catch in this little stream right here. So let me show you the rotation for the food. The salmon jerky, I have a macro here to make it. And if we go into our macro, it's this rotation right here. If you would like to pause and to copy down this rotation, please feel free. So let's go ahead and execute this. We're going to make some food. Real simple rotation. Nothing crazy about this. I think it's only a level 97 or 98 recipe, so we'll knock this out in no time. And the stats that I have on my gear, you should be able to copy those stats completely in their entirety, because again, we're not using any overmelds. We're using a very simple food here, and we're using all grade 10 materia. So my stat, you should be able to mirror my stats identical if you would like to try this out. And there we go. Salmon jerky is made. Now we will need tea as well for a little extra CP on top of this. So even though we're saving millions of gil in overmelds and grade 12 and grade 11 materia onto our gear in the guaranteed slots, we're saving a lot of gil. That way we are going to have to make up for some of that those missing stats by using food and tea along with our specialist jobs. So let's go ahead and switch over to Alchemist here. So we just made the food, and now we're going to make this Cunning Craftsman Tisane, and that will give us high quality and additional 27 CP. So let's go ahead and make this, and it's got the same difficulty, the 5700 progress and the 10,600 qualities. So we can go ahead and use the exact same rotation for the food, use it on the tea, and we'll be good to go. And we'll make some tea real quick. And then we'll get into the meat of how we're going to go about making this gear, making the pre-crafts, the ingots, and the leathers, and the lumber, and stuff like that. And then we'll get into making the gear itself. Hopefully you guys will find this useful. And again, you know, you save yourself a whole bunch of gil from overmelds. Okay, excellent. So let's see, what do I want to use? Let's go on to Goldsmith. So I will throw a disclaimer out there. These rotations are specialist rotations. So we're going to need food and we're going to need tea, which we just made. Very simple. Most people use food and tea anyway when they're crafting, so it's really not that big of a deal. But we will need to use those to make up for some of that loss in stats. And these rotations are specialist rotations. So if you're on a non-specialist crafter, they won't work because they were built using the actions that these specialists have, like quick innovation, careful observation, heart and soul. Those actions are specialist actions, and these rotations were built specifically using those. So as long as you're comfortable switching your specialist jobs and you don't mind doing that, these rotations will absolutely work, and you can go ahead and make whatever you need to make as long as you plan accordingly. You know, before you switch out your specialists, make sure you've made everything on the job that you're on currently, so when you do switch, you don't have to switch back. Like, oh, I forgot to make extra ingots, or I forgot to make extra leathers for when I'm switching to another specialist job. You already have them in stock. So just be mindful of that. Do a little planning. You know, figure out how many you need of each one, so when you're switching your specialists, you don't regret switching and have to go back. Now, in order to use specialist actions, you need a crafter's delineation, which I have 437 in my inventory. And these things are 15 purple scripts each. They're very cheap, and with the dozens of different collectibles that we have to turn in for purple scripts, as well as your custom deliveries, there's really no reason not to have a few hundred of these, at least in your saddlebag, at any point in time. Particularly if you are looking to make stuff using your crafters. It's real simple to make, you know, a handful of collectibles in just a few minutes. Whatever collectible works for you, go turn them in, and you can buy a few hundred of these, you know, in just a matter of a few minutes. Real simple. So a few things that we do need. Like I said, I'll just go over them again real quick. You can see my stats, my craftsmanship, and my control are a little bit low right now, but when we use our food, it will boost us up into the minimum requirements that we need. So before we get started, just go over again real quick the 4 things that we're going to need in order to do this. You will need food, and you will need tea. The new drought that's out for Dawn Trail, the salmon jerky. Specialist. You will need to be on a specialist, and which means you need to have your crafter's delineations. So with those 4 things in mind, let's get started. So in Master Recipe 11, we have these sterling silver ingots, and you can see the difficulty is quite large on these. So a lot of people think we have to overmeld extensively in order to reach these requirements. But it's not necessarily true. So if you see on the bottom there, it says quick synthesis unavailable. If we were able to quick synth this, then I could understand if somebody just wants to quick synth, make as many as they can, and use normal quality mats to make the gear as quickly as possible. But since quick synthesis is unavailable and we have to manually craft these ingots anyway, why not make them high quality? And I came up with a rotation that will guarantee us around 90% HQ rate on these ingots. And you most certainly can get 100% if you get a couple of good statuses thrown in the mix as well. That's certainly possible. But more often than not, at 90%, you will high quality these ingots. And when we go to make the gear, we can supplement 1 or 2 normal quality mats into the rotation anyway, which I'll show you after this. So even if you happen to get a normal quality ingot a couple of times when you're making these, it's no problem. You can see in my bag here, in the corner, I have 1 normal quality and 13 high quality. So I made 14 of these, and one of them was normal quality. I got a little unlucky. I think it was at 92% and at normal quality. But that's okay, because we can still use it to make the gear if we supplement high quality in other areas. So no problem. So let me go ahead and use my food. Here's the salmon jerky. And we're going to use a tea, which boosts my CP up to 657. And let's give it a shot. So the rotation that I have here is this one right here. And you can pause if you like to write this down or copy this. That's, certainly fine. And let's give it a shot. We'll follow along. Use muscle memory, manipulation, veneration for a big groundwork. Then we're going to use delicate synthesis, innovation, and 4 prudent touches. There's 1. Ooh, excellent. There we go. And there's 3. And here's 4. Now we're going to use quick innovation, which is a specialist action for our last delicate synthesis here. There we go. Now here's the second part of the rotation. We're going to use Master's Men, Innovation, and then we're going to use the Basic Touch, Refined Touch combo. And we use Great Strides. And we're going to use Heart and Soul. And then Precise Touch. A Trained Perfection, which reduces our durability cost down to 0. And then a couple of Trained Finesses. And Great Strides. Now, something I want to talk about real quick here. You can see that my Trained Perfection is still active. If you look down here, you'll see this right here. Trained Perfection is still active, which means my next action is going to cost 0 durability, which is good because we're down to 5 right now. And the reason being is because Trained Perfection reduces the durability cost of your next action down to 0. But we used a couple of Trained Finesses here that already don't reduce durability. So if these don't reduce durability, Trained Perfection will not trigger. So we used it, we used the action, but we still have it active for our next ability that's going to reduce our durability, which is going to be Byragot's Blessing. So we're going to use Byragot's Blessing, but since we still have Trained Perfection active, our durability will not reduce, and we're not going to break the craft. So you'll notice I didn't put Byragot's Blessing and Basic Synthesis at the end of the rotation here. And the reason being is because I want to use Byragot's Blessing manually. Because there's one other action that a specialist has called Careful Observation. And that's this action right here. And you can see in the description, it says, do nothing for 1 step, preserving the status of any actions presently in effect. So none of our actions here are going to disappear. it preserves all of these actions, which is great. So what we can do is now we have 3 opportunities. It says we can use this 3 times per synthesis, and we could use that to try to get a good status on our craft, which will enable us to reach 100% high quality rate if we happen to get good. We're down to 25 CP, so we have plenty to use Buyer God's Blessing. Now, I know from doing this earlier today that my Buyer God's Blessing at 8432 will reach 100%, but I'll go ahead and use careful observation to show you what I mean here. So if we use careful observation once, you can see it preserved all of our statuses here, and it didn't change our status. It stayed normal, so we can use it a second time. And it's still normal, okay. And we can try one last time, and it stayed normal. So it's a way to fish for good status or excellent, which could happen as well, to try to get to that 100% collectability mark. We were fortunate enough with that early excellent that we had and a couple of goods along the way that we will get 100% on this rotation. So let's just go ahead and use Buyer God's Blessing, and Trained Perfection again will not reduce our durability. So we use Buyer God's Blessing, and there we go, 100%. Our durability is still at 5. So we'll just use a basic synthesis here manually to close out the craft for our high quality ingot. There we go, guys. Now I have, we can try it again one more time just to see what happens. Muscle memory, manipulation, veneration, and then a groundwork and a delicate. All right, innovation, and we'll do 4 prudent touches. And now quick innovation for our delicate synthesis. Nice. And here's part 2. Master's Mend. Innovation, then our basic touch, refined touch combo. Great strides, heart and soul, which lets us use precise touch. Trained perfection, put that up. Our innovation and our 2 trained finesses. Great strides. And now this one, you can see our quality is a little bit less because we didn't have an excellent like we did last time. So we're at 7645 out of 12,000. So now we can use careful observation up to 3 times to try to get that good status. And let's go ahead and give the first one a try. Nope, didn't change. Okay, let's try the second one. Nope, didn't change again. Let's try one last time. And it didn't change again. Alright, so now we have to use Buyer God's Blessing because we're all out of careful observation attempts. And this should get us to about 90%, maybe 91%, maybe. Let's see. 91%. And let's finish it out with the basic synth. And we got unlucky. We got a normal quality. We got a normal quality ingot. And that's okay. That happens. It happens once in a while. But I'm glad you guys were able to see that. Because we can use that normal quality to go ahead and make the gear too. So it's still okay. So while we're on our let's see, goldsmith. Yes. Let's go into the rings here, and let's go ahead and make a a tank ring. Why not? And you can see I've used this rotation to make a few high qualities already. And we'll just plug them in to the recipe here. And you know what? Let's use that normal quality that we just made. Let's use that so I can show you how that works. And the rotation for this is right here, and we will follow along with this rotation. Use a muscle memory, manipulation, waste not 2, veneration, and then 4 groundworks, which will get us up to pretty close to finish. Alright, and then we'll use innovation and 2 preparatory touches. And 2 prudent touches. Now the second part of the rotation starts with a prudent touch. Let's go ahead. We'll use a quick innovation and another prudent touch. We'll use trained perfection, which we know reduces durability costs. Great strides, heart and soul. And we'll use innovation now for the precise touch. And then we'll do a trained finesse and great strides. Now if we look into our calculations, you can see we need about 3,400 quality to finish it out. And let's see what Bayergot's Blessing will do for us now. Bayergot's Blessing will give us 3,840. And you can see we're at 13,113 out of 16,500. So we're just about 3,400 short, and Bayergot's will give us 3,840. So let's do it. Let's use Bayergot's Blessing. And there we go. We just made the ring. Now be very careful with this one when you manually finish, because you can see our durability is at 7,134 out of 7,500. So don't be too quick to use basic synthesis. We have to use careful synthesis, which is why we have 13 CP left over. I wanted to make sure we had enough CP to be able to use careful synthesis, because if we go into our calculations, we'll see basic synth only gives us 303, which won't be enough. We're going to end up breaking the craft. But careful synthesis is plenty. So be careful when you're actually making the gear that you use careful synthesis to finish it out. And there's careful. And there's your high quality ring. So there you go, guys. It's a way to make the new gear, the 710 gear, with no crazy overmelds, no spending millions of gil on grade 12, grade 11 materia. Everything that you see online tells you need this stuff, and I'm here to tell you it's just not true. And I just showed you how to do it. So I hope you guys found that useful, and maybe if some of you get some use out of it, you can save yourself millions of gil in overmelding, and save your overmelds for the green set when that comes out in a few months, because that will last us for the remainder of the expansion. Yeah, guys, hope you found that useful, and have a great day. Happy crafting.